companies regularly delay and deny valid claims because that's how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WXX Jackson, KNXX. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. It means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. You might hear a little bit of a different sound here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. You might hear a little energy in my voice here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We have made it through the long, dark, and hot offseason. It's game week here in Baton Rouge. It is game week in college football. LSU and Southern Cal just 6 days away from Las Vegas. And so now we've got we do have the ability to just get into a game week and get into that routine that I think a lot of people fall into during football season, where every kind of week kind of feels the same. There's structure to it. You know where you're headed, and fired up to be here and fired up to be talking about LSU and Southern Cal. We'll do that today. There are other things that we're going to get to over the next couple of hours. Saints preseason finale was yesterday inside the Dome. We'll talk a little bit about that. Jonah Williams committed to Texas. Aiden Anding committed to LSU. We'll talk some about that. The end of this hour, in hour number 2, Matthew Paris is going to jump on and talk some Saints with us. He covers the Saints for The Advocate. He was there in the Dome yesterday, so we'll get his thoughts there. Denton Day going to join us at 2:30 talking national college football storylines. Florida State goes down. And that was really the only thing that I was interested in at all with college football over the weekend. I can't get too deep into the weeds on FCS games and SMU and Nevada. That's not where my bread is necessarily buttered. But if you were all in for it this weekend, more power to you. We don't have to worry about it this week because we've got a full slate of college football cranking up on Thursday. Brian Kelly just met with the media and had some things to say. We'll get into some injury thoughts a little bit later at 1:30. I honestly wanted to spend this first segment talking about LSU in the last 4 season openers because you know how that's gone. You know that in 2020, in front of a half-full stadium with everybody wearing masks or supposed to have masks on and spreading out to social distance, the defending national championships got absolutely torched inside Tiger Stadium. KJ Costello, I had to go back and look this up because the number's not burned into my brain. KJ Costello threw for 623 yards that day. I was in Tiger Stadium. I was doing the pregame show, which we did at TJ Ribs that year, and then frantically drove across town with 20 minutes to kickoff, parked and went in the stadium and sat in the seats and watched as Mississippi State just completed about every ball they threw for 4 hours and absolutely annihilated LSU in that game. And then a year later, LSU went out west to UCLA and got manhandled, just got bullied. Zach Charbonnet running all over the place. It was just LSU just got bullied in that game in the Rose Bowl. UCLA ran for 161 yards more than LSU. It was a 38-27 game that honestly did not feel all that close. LSU just got manhandled in that game. That's not really any of Brian Kelly's concern. That was before he got here. But the last 2 games, he has been here. I think everyone understands the circumstances that went around the game 2 years ago. You had a roster that was really completely overhauled by transfers. Your entire secondary was transfers. Your quarterback was a transfer. Your wide receivers were growing up. And it was a difficult spot for LSU against a team that was probably better than we thought. Keep in mind, at that point, Jordan Travis hadn't really emerged onto the scene in Florida State. He did start the previous year, but he was a pretty average player in the ACC. We know now for the last 2 years he was fantastic, and Florida State was one of the best teams in the country last year. Whatever your stance is on whether or not they should have been in the playoffs or shouldn't have been in the playoffs, that doesn't really matter. I think everyone can realize they were good. They had 2 guys go in the first round of the draft. They had electrifying receivers with great size and a really good college quarterback who won a ton of games and a first-round pass rusher. And they were a really good team, and they went undefeated. But we didn't know all that 2 years ago in the Superdome. Mike Norvell was kind of trying to get it into motion there. And so it was two teams that were kind of looking to take the next step up in college football. And LSU was sloppy and clunky in that game. And they lost because, one, they couldn't stop Florida State on third downs. Florida State was 11 of their first 16 on third downs, just continuously sustaining drives and going to get points. And while the defense was competitive, they couldn't win third downs. And inevitably, Florida State put enough points on the board that LSU fell into a hole. And then LSU rallied out of the hole. Jaden Daniels was putting up points and yards. And then you get a huge break late. Florida State fumbles. And LSU takes the ball down the field and scores in the last play of the game. And then they get the field goal, the extra point blocked. And you had 2 muff punts and 2 kicks blocked, 4 massive special teams gaffes that really cost you that game, along with the fact that Florida State was converting every third down they saw. Last season was a weird game to go back and look at. It wasn't weird now that we realized that LSU was bad on defense, because they were bad on defense last year. Jordan Travis just diced LSU up in Orlando. He threw for 342 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. But that's not shocking to look back on. What's shocking to look back on is that LSU was a little bit disjointed on offense. The running game wasn't there. You had a crucial drop by Kyron Lacey on a big third down in the third quarter, and then Malik fell down on a stop route on the right sideline, and Florida State intercepted it, and that was really the end of the game. But that was the best job anybody did on LSU's offense all year. And I think if you go back and play that game again, LSU probably loses, because I think Florida State would throw for 350 yards again. But the offense would be better than it was. The point being is, you look and take all that in totality, like, is that really one thing that LSU hasn't been prepared to do in the opener? No, they got the special teams figured out after 1 week. Muffing punts, they put the most sure-handed guys they could back there, and LSU, for some reason, for 2 years, couldn't catch a punt. I have a hard time suggesting that they took a huge risk putting Malik Neighbors back to run punts back against Florida State in the Superdome. Like, that seems like a pretty low-risk probability. And I have a hard time suggesting that Aaron Anderson can't catch punts. Like, he'd done it his whole life, and he dropped one in the Florida State game. You could point to that because it happened in both games. They practice that stuff all the time. We went out to practice for 3 straight weeks. They punted a lot while we were out there. I saw 1 muffed punt the whole time. Aaron Anderson muffed 1 the whole time we were out there. Like, that's not being poorly coached. That's just a couple guys dropping the football, and it happens. But there's not one thing. Defense, they're just bad all last year. That had nothing to do with the opener. They just weren't good. I don't think they were good with personnel. I don't think they were good with scheme. I'm struggling to find a correlation between the 2022 opener, the 2023 opener, and the 2024 opener. Like, I think those are just separate entities. Brian Kelly's coached teams for a very, very long time. He should understand how to get teams ready to play. He does understand how to get teams ready to play, and he's speaking with a bit of a quiet confidence about this game. I've got some quotes. We certainly don't have the sound because he just got off the podium 20 minutes ago, and we've been on the air for 8. But we do have the quotes here that I wrote down as he was going. And he was talking about the last 2 games against Florida State. He said some of the key guys in those games are no longer here. In those games, you were getting a quarterback ready the first year. The wide receivers were inexperienced. You got 2 freshman tackles. It's a journey. We're in year 3 now, and those guys who played as freshmen are going to be playing in this game with all this experience. Those guys that they played against at Florida State, those games they played, they're going to help them in this opener. There are a lot of guys who had those battle scars from the openers and know what it takes to win an opener on both sides of the ball, whether it's Harold Perkins or it's Will Campbell. They were both here for all that. They're going to impact Sunday in terms of how we play. I think there's something to that. Like, those guys know how to ramp it up and to play a big game in the first game. I don't think they're going to be surprised by the speed of the game. That's something that always opens my eyes when I go out to the PMAC and LSU plays those non-conference games against Nichols, who I know beat them last year, but you play North Texas and you play some of these teams, and then all of a sudden you come out for the SEC and like Arkansas or Kentucky shows up, and it's amazing how much more quickly the game moves. That's not going to shock these guys because they've opened the season with fast games like that 2 years in a row. They've opened the season with a lot on the line in front of big crowds in neutral sites 2 years in a row. So I think there's something to that is going to give them some comfortability. I was also interested in Brian Kelly's comments about the defense and how that's got to be better. And this was a pretty powerful quote, I think, for a Monday press conference. I know going in that we're prepared defensively. Our guys are excited about playing for Blake. They get the scheme very well. There's not a lot of confusion. I'm excited to watch them play. I think that's hopefully the case. Those of us that have been out to practice, and some have been out there a little bit more than me, but it hasn't been a lot of busts. Like, I haven't seen a lot of guys busting coverages. I've seen some guys get beat, and guess what? Sometimes you get beat at practice, especially when you're going against LSU's wide receivers. But I haven't seen a lot of complete busts. My sincere hope and my sincere thought is that they're going to be prepared to play in the game. There may be some jump balls or some, route concepts that Lincoln Riley and 4- and 5-star wide receivers from USC and Miller Moss beat LSU on. I don't know that it's going to be a lot of guys holding their hands out, looking around going, well, who was supposed to be there? It feels like they've gotten the scheme down. They're certainly saying that. It remains to be seen. We all know that. It remains to be seen. But it feels like they've got that. That's step one. You can get past step one, and we can start talking about knocking balls away and making picks and changing games with plays like that. But until you get in the right spot, you can't help. And it feels like that Blake Baker has simplified things and the guys know where they're supposed to be. I've said this a few times. I'm not fluent in Brian Kelly language just yet. It takes more time. I'm fluent in Maneri Ease. I'm fluent in Les Miles Ease. I'm fluent in Ogeron. I'm getting there with Jay Johnson. I'm not fluent in Brian Kelly talk just yet, but I don't take him as a guy that just blows smoke at the podium. I can say this. I don't mean this as a negative at all. I just mean it because I watched it for 10, 12 years. Les just blew smoke up there. He wasn't going to give you much of anything. Everybody's playing well. Nobody's hurt. It's all hunky-dory. It's fine. Even if it's not. He just wasn't going to change his tune. And that's fine. I don't have any problem with that, but I figured it out. I don't think Brian Kelly's quite like that. That's a guy that's pretty comfortable. That's a guy that has a lot of experience. He understands when things are not good. He understands when they are. And he's been pretty steadfast in suggesting that LSU has shored up some of the defensive issues. He's never suggested they're going to dominate the SEC. He's never suggested there are 4 first-round picks out there. But he has been pretty steadfast and we know where to be. I'm comfortable that they understand the scheme. And that makes sense. There's a lot of really old guys out there on that defense. Yeah, P.J. Woodland gets a few reps here and there. He's young. Yeah, Deshaun Spears is out there a little bit. He's young. You could see Don McKinley maybe play a little bit. Deshaun Womack hadn't played a ton of football. They could be considered young, but most of the guys out there are old. Major Burns is old. Sage Ryan's old. Greg Penn is old. Jacobian Guillory's old. Braden Swenson's old. Savion Jones is old. Zy Alexander's old. Weston Whit Weeks have played a lot. They're old. It's a pretty old group, and they ought to be able to understand where they're supposed to be on defense. So, to sum everything up here, LSU has not played up to the standard in openers for 4 years. The first 2 I don't care about because none of these players were participating, and it's a new head coach and a whole new coaching staff. The second 2, Brian Kelly is responsible for. And they've got to play better defense for sure, and they got to catch punts. But I don't believe there's some sort of internal problem with LSU preparing to open the season with a good football team. I think you played an excellent football team the last 2 openers. I think you came up just short 2 years ago, and you played your worst game of the year last year. That needs to change over the next 6 days. And Brian Kelly talked about that. He also gave some injury updates. We'll get to those in 15 minutes. Balls around Chris Hilton. And who was the other? I didn't have it written down. I just figured I could remember it. It was Chris Hilton and Miles Frazier. That is correct. That was the other one. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. And then a couple guests in the second hour. Matthew Paris talking Saints. And we'll also visit with Denton Day on some national college football storylines. So come back with us. I've got takes on the Saints preseason finale. Roster cuts are coming fast and furious. I've got one who would be on my list that's probably not going to get cut, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet. Love telling you about ESPN Bet. It's football season now. It's time to get some action down. And look, every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place where you can find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the summer months as we enter the fall. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms, conditions apply. See app for details.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add mountain cold refreshment. Coors Light, choose chill.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Turning right along here on this Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. A little LSU talk to come here in 12 minutes, but let's circle back to the Saints. Yesterday closed out the preseason. I'll be quite candid. It's okay with me if I don't watch any more preseason football until next August. That's just fine with me. Just a lot of sloppy plays, some guys who are not going to be on rosters out there. It's a little bit clunky, but it serves its purpose. And for the Saints, they were going out there and they had some things to accomplish on Sunday, and we'll see what the results are over the next 48 hours as cut-down date is fast approaching. It was a really cool day, obviously, for Jacob Kavodi, the running back who hails here from the 225, played at Louisiana Lafayette, an undrafted free agent of the New Orleans Saints, and he was able to go out there and really showed out. He had 12 carries in the game for 59 yards, had a couple touchdowns. One was really well blocked off the left side. He was able to get into the end zone. The other, he just trucked a Titans defender inside the 5-yard line and got to pay dirt. He spoke after the game about how much it meant to him as a Louisianian who'd always dreamed of playing in that dome in high school, in college, and now getting that opportunity as a professional. He didn't get to play there in high school. Then ULL qualified for the New Orleans Bowl twice while he was there, but he wasn't able to play in either game. So this really was a huge opportunity for him, and he absolutely took advantage of it. And had a moment that even if he doesn't make this team, make a practice squad, he'll have that moment to look back on. A lot of friends and family were there to watch him, and he was exceptional. The Saints have some good players at running back. Cabote's a good player. Jordan Mims is a good player. James Robinson had his moments in camp in the preseason as well. And all of this, to me, suggests like Kendre Miller is expendable. And I don't know Kendre Miller. I've never spoken to Kendre Miller. I don't even know if Kendre Miller's any good at football because I haven't watched him play. But what I know is that running backs are, to use a very, very overused cliche, a dime a dozen. You can go get another running back. The Saints have them on the roster. And if I'm giving a roster spot right now to either Jacob Cabote or to Kendre Miller, like I'm giving it to Cabote. I've had enough of Kendre Miller, who didn't even practice after 5 minutes were up in training camp. Yeah, it was an early pick, but if you can't play, you can't play. And they're going to keep him on the roster, and they're going to move forward with him, and he'll probably come back in week 3 or 4, and he'll probably play a little bit, but I just wouldn't deal with it if I was the Saints. I would go ahead and move on and find some guys that have been practicing and playing in some of these games. That's what I would do. I don't think they will do that. Speaking of that draft class, well, no, there was actually one before that. Trevor Penning went out there again in the early action on Sunday, and it's not that Trevor Penning is terrible in every rep. It's that Trevor Penning has too many terrible reps. NFL tackles cannot get beat that badly that often. And it's not like if you turned on the tape for Trevor Penning, like you would see plenty of reps where he does do the job, where he does get to the second level on a run block, where he does do a pass set and run the guy up the field. Like he does do some things well, but of course, anybody you put out there is going to do some things well. The misses are so glaring. He actually had some misses yesterday that were in the run game. Like you just heard me at the top of the segment say my favorite thing in the world is not grinding NFL preseason. So instead of like watching the ball, like I'll just watch some players on some plays. And I was watching Trevor Penning early on and like, there's a couple of reps. It's like, that's unacceptable. And I can't imagine the Saints are going to look at that tape and go, yeah, that's got to be our guy at right tackle. We're too far down the line to keep sending out the rope. Like, reel it in, cut the bait. It's over. He's not going to be able to play at this level. Whether you think it was the right move to start him at left tackle last year, whether you think it's the right move to move him to right tackle, whether you think he should be a guard, no matter what you may think about Trevor Penning, the fact is that every time he goes out there and plays against NFL players, he has too many bad reps. Too many bad reps. And I just don't think he's going to be the right tackle to start the season. I could be wrong. It would make more sense if I was wrong. But this is just the way that I'm seeing it. We'll ask Matthew Paris when he comes on in 45 minutes, like, what do you think? But I just can't imagine that the Saints are going to move forward with Trevor Penning. I don't get that at all. Other kind of bigger storylines from the game. Big preseason for Blake Grupe. He hits from 54. He was 3 of 3 on his extra points, 2 of 2 on field goals. Did not miss in a preseason game this year. Been very good in practice, and all that is great. All that is a very, very good sign for New Orleans. However, we did see this last year. We saw him win that kicking battle, and we saw them send Will Lutz out, and then you saw Blake Grupe really perform poorly when the lights came on. I mean, potentially cost you a game in Green Bay. You've got to make kicks. He's clearly capable, and it's good that the Saints have those capabilities. They need to become consistencies. I'm hopeful. It was his first year in the league last year. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be damn near perfect at field goal kicker. Field goal kicker's not a lot of margin for error here. You can sign another kicker on Monday. You can sign another kicker after a tryout on Tuesday. They'll be ready to go. They don't have to learn the playbook. Just hop on in. But I thought it was a good preseason for Blake Grupe, and that's an encouraging thing for New Orleans. As I've watched, I don't have a strong conviction on backup quarterback. I have a tepid conviction. I think Spencer Rattler is the guy that you should use. I think that Spencer Rattler has a higher upside than Jake Haener. Slightly, but he does. And I think that there's a better chance you might really have a key organizational piece with Spencer Rattler than Jake Haener. It goes back to the original point. If Derek Carr goes down, the Saints are in big trouble. That's just the way it is. The drop down right now from Derek Carr to the second team quarterback, if it's Haener or if it's Rattler, is significant. The Saints, if Derek Carr goes down, are not making the playoffs. They're not winning the division. So my contention would be, if there are reps to go around, or if you need to send somebody out there to play in regular season games at quarterback, why not try the guy that could be that has a better chance, in my estimation, to be a lottery ticket? There's a better chance that that Spencer Rattler is Brock Purdy than Jake Haener is Brock Purdy. There's a better chance Spencer Rattler is Dak Prescott than Jake Haener is Dak Prescott. There's a better chance Jake Haener is I keep doing it. Better chance Spencer Rattler is Kirk Cousins than Jake Haener. Like, that's where I am on the Saints backup quarterback situation. It has nothing to do with who gives me the best chance to win this Sunday against Carolina or Tampa or the Jets. It's more about who gives me a chance to be a real key piece to this organization. And to me, that's Rattler. The arm talent's better. The athleticism's better. That throw he makes for a touchdown in the first half yesterday was fantastic. Dropped it right in the bucket. And Haener, to me, has more like, oh crap moments. Like, he's holding the ball in the pocket. He fumbled a couple times. And Rattler hadn't been perfect. Trust me. There have been issues with Rattler as well. They got guys that are learning, that are growing up. But if I were deeming a second-team quarterback for the Saints, I would go with Spencer Rattler. That's just my 2 cents on that. Any other takeaways that I may have had from the game? That was most of it. Once again, just a strictly production thing. Anthony Orji leads the team in tackles. He had 9, and 4 of them were solo. He's led the team in tackles 2 of the 3 preseason games. Now, you could say that's a bad thing because they're putting him out there when they're resting the guys that they're counting on during the season. You could say it's a good thing because, hey, that's a guy who's, when given the opportunity, is actually making plays. I think there's a real chance that Anthony Orji will make the team. I think he should make the team. If you're curious who's going to make the roster, the 53, Ross Jackson, who covers the Saints for us at LouisianaSports.net, has got a big piece up over the weekend that was projecting the top 53. He gave all the names, all the candidates, and I thought did a great job over at LouisianaSports.net. It's gotten a ton of traffic over there. So if you're interested in the Saints, want to check out who you think is going to make that final 53, Ross has that piece up over at LouisianaSports.net. All right, moving right along here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you firing your work week up with us. It's a game week. We're talking Fighting Tiger football. Brian Kelly spoke today about 2 guys who were dealing with some injuries and who would replace them. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy. EvolvePT.com is the website. Look, if you're not feeling great, if you've got pain, you've got aches, whether they're because you slept wrong or got into a car accident or got hurt playing sports, you got to get back to being your active self. And Robbie Bolton's entire goal is to get you back to being your active self. Far too many people get hurt, go to a physical therapy clinic that they were instructed to go to. They get handed a sheet of paper that says, here's some exercise. You can come back in a week. That's never going to happen, Evolve Physical Therapy. Robbie Bolton and his team will be there with you every step of the way to make sure you're getting the full rehabilitation that you need and that you're back to being your active self as quickly as possible. That's the goal over at Evolve Physical Therapy. Check them out online, EvolvePT.com. You can always stop by. They're on Starring near Highland Road. Robbie Bolton's been doing this for 20 years here in Baton Rouge. Evolve Physical Therapy is the physical therapy clinic in the capital city. If you are injured, youth athletes, senior citizens, whoever the case may be, if you're active and you want to get back to being active but can't because of pain, Robbie Bolton and his team are where you need to be. It's Evolve Physical Therapy, EvolvePT.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150, $12,000 off a new 2024 Ford F-150, and $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Chugging along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Shout out to Trey Buell and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. GCOPnet.com is where you can find them. Printing, scanning, copying, they got you covered over at Gulf Coast Office Products. No matter what line of work you're in, whether you're in education, you're in healthcare, you're in law firm, bank, like us, media company, whatever the case may be, Trey and the team at Gulf Coast Office Products have got clients in that vertical market, and they understand the needs that your specific industry it has in terms of printing, scanning, copying. If you haven't given that any thought and you just kind of grabbed the first one you saw, call Trey Beal and the team, Gulf Coast Office Products, and make sure that you've got exactly what it is that you need. You get fantastic customer service, fantastic products, great relationship, and the finest quality of products as well with Gulf Coast Office Products. GCOPnet.com is where you can find them. All right, Brian Kelly met with the media today in his first Monday press conference. That'll be on Tuesday next week, incidentally, because of Labor Day. But he had 2 injury updates for LSU. Said that Chris Hilton is questionable with a bone bruise, and said that Miles Frazier was probable. Those are 2 guys that he mentioned last week entering the weekend, and said that they would be ready to prepare for USC this week. Sounds like they expect Frazier to go, but Hilton could miss a little bit of time. Potentially, we'll just have to see how the week goes. That's a huge bummer because Chris Hilton is having an awesome camp, a fantastic camp. He looks great out there. He looks fast. He's making big plays. His route running's been very good. He's filled out physically from the time he got here. Keep in mind, Chris Hilton was the highest rated player in a Louisiana wide receiver crop that included Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. Like, those three guys were in the same class, and Chris Hilton was the highest rated of the three. And he just hasn't been able to get out there because of injuries. While the other guys have been healthy and they've been out there to play and they've been wildly productive, and now they're first-round picks in the NFL and very rich dudes, Chris Hilton's had to kind of fight and scrap and claw for playing time. And he's, at this point, got that opportunity. He's right at the top of the depth chart behind Kyron Lacey as the number 2 receiver. And now you got a game coming, and he's dealing with a bone bruise. That's a huge bummer for Chris Hilton. I still think, even though right now you're looking at a guy that's got a bone bruise and probably won't practice today, I still think he's going to have a really good year. But he's got to get healthy. To me, the top 3 wide receivers are very clear for LSU. It's Kyron Lacey, it's Chris Hilton, it's C.J. Daniels. There are some guys behind them, some veterans, some very young. You've got Xavier Thomas, you got Shelton Sampson and Kyle Parker, you got Aaron Anderson, Landon Ibieta still working out there. Kylan Billiot's a freshman. Like, you've got a lot of numbers there. But I think those 3 have clearly established themselves as the top 3. And Hilton gives you a speed element that is it unique to the unit? I think it is. I don't know of any of the other guys that run like Chris Hilton does. So that would be a loss if you did not have him for this game. Incidentally, Kelly was asked, hey, if he can't go, like, who's next up? And Kelly went with a name that I was not expecting to hear. I would think if that question were posed to me an hour ago, before Brian Kelly answered this question, I would say, okay, you got Lacey, you got Daniels, Hilton's not available, who's next? I would say, probably Xavier Thomas. That would have been my next guess. And Kelly mentioned him. Xavier Thomas has been used a lot in the screen game that we've seen in fall camp, but he's also a pretty good receiver as well. The name that Brian Kelly gave was actually Kyle Parker. Kyle Parker came in last year in a class that included Shelton Sampson and Jalen Brown, and he was kind of an overlooked guy in that wide receiver group. But he's a tireless worker. He's in great shape, and he's been back there handling some punt return and kick return duties, and that caught my eye as well. And so when Kelly was asked, okay, well, if Hilton can't go, he said Kyle Parker is the next guy, and that to me was fascinating. I think Aaron Anderson's kind of bumped down a little bit on the depth chart. I don't know if they're ready to toss Shelton Sampson in there, but to me right now, that I think Kyle Parker can play. Do I want to be the number 1 wide receiver? No, I'm not really interested in that. But can he be a really good third option? Yeah, I think so. I think he's a really good route runner. I think he's plenty fast enough, catches the ball well. I do remember one drop that he had in a one-on-one drill, but he's impressive. He's a good player, and that's the next guy up for Chris Hilton. Now, Miles Frazier going down would be a huge bummer, and I want to clarify that Brian Kelly did say today that Miles Frazier is probable. So that's the designation they gave him. Now, let me go off on a little aside here. I don't know if we can take these injury updates at face value. And quite frankly, I don't care. There are a lot of fans, there are a lot of media members that feel it is their right to know the health status of players. Certainly there are bettors that want to know that as well. I don't happen to fall in that camp. I'm just fine with Jay Johnson in regionals not telling the other team who the starting pitcher is until 90 minutes before the game starts. Do I think that they make a real big production over that at LSU in the baseball side of things? I do. Do I think that I'm fine with it? I am. Do I need to know whether or not Miles Frazier's playing? No. It would probably help me to do this job. It would probably help me on the pregame show, but it would maybe help USC understand what's going on. And look, negligible as that may be, impactful as that may be, I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to know that answer. So maybe Miles Frazier's probable. Maybe he's definitely out. I have no idea, but we've been told he's probable. I'll just work off of that premise until I find out something new. And quite frankly, that'll probably be when the Tigers start warming up in Allegiant Stadium. You'll figure out who's working at right guard. But if Frazier's not able to go, Kelly did mention that Tyree Adams would be next up. It's become apparent that Tyree Adams is the sixth offensive lineman. And I think he's the sixth offensive lineman no matter who goes down. If Will Campbell were to go down, Adams has been working at first team left tackle. I think he would go in there. Maybe Emory Jones goes to left tackle and you switch Adams to right. Maybe you just plug him in at the left. I don't know, but he would be the next guy in. At right tackle, certainly he'd be the next guy in. At left and right guard, I think he's the next guy in. That's what we're hearing as Frazier's probable, and that's probably up next. Now, Adams would not go to center if you lost DJ Chester. But I don't think Cohen Eccles would go in either, and he's been the second-team center all of camp. I think Garrett Dellinger, who started the Florida State game 2 years ago at center, would go in at center, and then they'd put Adams in there at guard. So it looks to me like Adams is the swing guy no matter what. He's certainly plug and play at both guards and right tackle. Either Jones or Adams at left tackle if Campbell went down. And then at center, Dellinger down to center, plug in Adams at guard. They've got a lot of young talent. Weston Davis, Ori Williams, Cohen Eccles, Paul Mabenga. Like, they've got a lot of guys, borderline, that they feel are going to be good players for them moving forward. But Adams is the top of that list. And I'll be candid, like, Adams had a good camp. Like, he's done a good job in one-on-ones. He's got a great frame. All these guys look the same. I've been talking about this for 3 years with Brian Kelly. All these guys profile about the same. Some are a little bit taller than others, but they all are long and lean, and as they fill out over time, become better players. And Adams certainly fits that bill, and I think is going to be a good player for the Tigers this year. Kelly added that nobody is expected to miss time with off-the-field issues as long as they're practicing right now. So Trey Holly is not practicing right now. So Trey Holly's not going to play on Sunday. I think everyone was aware of that. But Javian Toviano, John Emery, like these guys that have had issues here or there, if they're at practice, they're eligible to go. So at this point, and look like I'll knock on wood really hard, like at this point, LSU has gotten through camp, and camp's over, about as healthy as you can. If you got one receiver with a bone bruise and one offensive lineman who's dinged up a little bit and might practice today, like you can't do much better than that over the course of 5 weeks of camp. That's about as good as it gets. So the Tigers will now turn their attention to Southern Cal. They'll get ready for that game, and they'll do so with a full complement of players outside of potentially Chris Hilton at this point. Listening to a Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, we'll close out hour number one. Don't go anywhere. It is The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years of redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. If there's an aging loved one in your life that you think could be in harm's way in the bathroom, One Bath and Closets are happy to help with that. They can do non-slip floors. They can put walk-in tubs in. They can put showers in with a bench. They can put handrails around the toilet and shower and tub areas to make things as safe as possible as those aging continue to age. If you've got someone in your life that wants to stay at home but may need some help, One Bath and Closets needs to be your one-stop shop. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. Get that free consultation. Starts with a questionnaire, conversation with David Duvall. He understands what you need, what they can do for you. And I can promise you this, they will do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. No deal where they get the job done as quickly as possible, move to the next one to get that next paycheck, and they got to come back 3 weeks later to go ahead and fix something that fell apart. That's not how things work with One Bath and Closets. They do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. Check out the website. Get that free consultation. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. Get $1,000 off. It's One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150. $12,000 off a new 2024 Ford F-150. And $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, you know, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, you know. We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Bayou Chrysler's Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Closing up hour number 1 here, Hunt Palmer Show on this Monday. Got a couple guests coming at you in the second hour. Matthew Paris is 13 minutes away, talking about the Saints wrapping up their preseason. Denton Day, 2:30 in his normal spot, talking national college football. We'll get all of his thoughts on Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. What else is big this week? And I haven't dove into the entire slate yet, Beck. I mean, obviously LSU's got a big one, but that'll be the headliner for us. Is outside of Clemson and Georgia and Notre Dame A&M, there's got to be something else that's of note.
Yeah, I see Penn State, West Virginia.
That's not bad.
Not terrible. Other than that, man, Miami, Florida.
That's good.
That's a good one.
That's got some storylines.
That's got some juice.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and other than that, not really anything else too interesting. I think
that's enough for
that's not
Saturday.
bad.
I mean, then LSU takes center stage on Sunday. The eyes of the country for the 3rd year in a row will be watching LSU in that one. So we'll get Denton's thoughts on all of that. Recruiting news over the weekend. Some good, some not as good for LSU. We'll start with the not as good to get to the good. Jonah Williams elects to go to the Texas Longhorns. A big 5-star safety and elite-level baseball prospect out of Galveston. Going to head to play for the Longhorns. The thought was when Jonah Williams kind of burst on the scene that he would be a Texas A&M lock. That's Mike Evans High School. Galveston's kind of been an A&M hotbed, and they thought that A&M would be able to close there. And the thought was that they probably led, and then Jimbo Fisher got let go, and Jim Schlossnagle moved on, and then all of a sudden, there's a lot of new faces at Texas A&M and some familiar ones at Texas. And all the while, LSU is jockeying for position, and the reports were, and some of the quotes indicated, that he was very interested in LSU. But if you look at the in-state rankings in Texas and where those players are going, the Longhorns are scuffling a little bit in-state. Their class is really good with some out-of-state players, but they're struggling in-state, and I think they zeroed in on Jonah Williams, the guy that they just weren't going to let pass. We talked to Sonny Sipp about this last week, and we weren't speaking in specifics, but basically it was being reported by a lot of folks in the industry that the NIL discussion was ramping up in a big way with Jonah Williams as that deadline kind of approached. And how that went, I'll never know. But it sounds like Texas probably did a pretty good job because he committed to them. I did check, and I told you all this on the air probably a month ago. It's August. That was probably in July at some point. That I did check with some sources on the LSU baseball side of thing, and I said, hey, would y'all recruit Jonah Williams if he wasn't a baseball prospect? And the answer I got back was an emphatic yes. like that type of athlete, you have to take. So it wasn't like a gimmick thing. Wasn't a deal where baseball program would just take him just so the football team could have him. It wasn't just a kind of a complimentary pitch. That it was real deal. Like, this guy can play baseball. So he's a football player first wherever he goes, because that's the rules. But he's a guy that can certainly do both. And Texas will enjoy his services, it appears, here in the coming years. Jonah Williams headed to Texas, so LSU will kind of pivot there and look elsewhere at the safety spot. They did get some good defensive back news over the weekend when Aiden Anding did commit to LSU. Aiden Anding, a Ruston standout who came onto the radar fairly late. I mean, you don't see guys committing, kind of showing up to get an offer this late all the time. A lot of guys get offers sophomore, junior year. Anding kind of had to wait till his senior year was rolling around, but he didn't let that kind of cloud his judgment. The thought was maybe because LSU was a little bit late to the party, because Jabari Antoine had decommitted and maybe they weren't going to get DJ Pickett, and so they pivoted to Aiden Anding, and maybe he was upset about that, and that not necessarily the case. And he does commit to LSU, and this is a good get for Corey Wayman for sure. I like two things about Anding. He's got pretty good size, north of 6 feet tall, and he's a basketball player. That shows a really good athlete, grew up as a kind of a basketball standout, just now kind of getting into football. And Corey Raymond's really good molding freak athletes. That's the best quality you can have, I think, as a position coach, is the ability to get the most out of your really athletic people. And Corey's done that for a really long time. So Aiden Anding had some offers from some other teams that LSU was trying to fight off there late. They were able to land the Ruston cornerback. Add him to the defensive back class that does include, of course, DJ Pickett, the number one cornerback in the country. That does include Jace Thomas from Deschamps. So it does include Cade Phillips. So you look at that four-man DB class right now with Pickett, Phillips, Thomas, and Anding. That's pretty good. And we sat here 2 months ago and we're looking at the defensive back class going, man, they don't have any. And this has got to be an overhaul. They got to figure it out, and it appears that they're figuring it out. They took 4 DBs last year. They have taken to this point 4 this year. And when you're trying to overhaul that thing, that's what it takes. New blood, a lot of talent, some hard work, development. That's what you've got to do. And Aiden Anding appears to be a guy that the LSU staff identified late that they wanted in the class, and they've got him in the class. LSU now up to 25 commitments. You're going, oh my God, 25 commitments. That's trouble. Not trouble. There's no limit anymore. You can sign as many as you want, as long as by the time it's ready to roll, you've got the requisite 105 players. Like that's where we are. So you take as many as you want, and it feels like LSU in this Brian Kelly era is going to take about 30 high schoolers every year, because you roll that all together, that's 120. And you're going to have massive attrition. Every single program is. So your numbers are pretty healthy if you take about 30 a year. So it would stand to reason at this point, as you look at LSU's class, there's 25. There will probably be 5 more additions or so. And maybe there's more, because Brian Kelly wants high school guys he can bring in and develop. Certainly Aiden Anding fits that bill. All right, our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs. Top of the show, I talked about LSU in-season openers, had some quotes from Brian Kelly. If you'd like to read that in print form, I just fired it up at louisianasports.net. It's got some quotes from him, some statistics from the last 4 season openers where LSU's really had some trouble. Had some trouble with Mississippi State in Tiger Stadium, had some trouble with UCLA, and then 2 years in a row, Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis and Florida State and company took care of the Tigers. So I've got a piece up at louisianasports.net that talks about that with some quotes from Brian Kelly. I gave my observations from the Saints preseason game back on Sunday afternoon, specifically at running back, where I would get rid of Kendre Miller. I've seen enough. They got enough guys with talent that are showing me something that I would probably put out there. I'm kind of done with, I am done with Trevor Penning. I don't really want to watch him play right tackle anymore at this point. And I thought that it was a good camp, good training camp and preseason for Blake Grupe, the Saints kicker, and we talked a little bit about that as well. If you're looking for Saints content, you can always find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Our Saints content's there year-round. Some talking points, some injury points from Brian Kelly at 1:30, talking about Chris Hilton and Miles Frazier. Then a little recruiting tidbit there at the end of hour number 1. If you missed it, You can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Look, all of our shows are listed there. Search Hunt Palmer Show, search After Further Reviews, search Live at Lunch, OTB. Like, subscribe, rate, review. That always helps us get our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. Hour 2 is coming up. Matthew Paris is going to join us from The Advocate at straight up 2 o'clock. That's 5 minutes from right now. Denton Day going to join us at 2:30 to talk all things college football. We still have some baseball to talk about, as well as Dylan Cruz is headed up to the major leagues. He will make his debut tonight against the New York Yankees in our nation's capital. So plenty to get to. I hope your work week's off to a great start. Appreciate you locking us in. When we come back, Matthew Paris talking some Saints football. You're listening to a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news from ESPN's Adam Schefter. Cowboys wideout CeeDee Lamb ends his holdout and gets a 4-year, $136 million contract, $100 million guaranteed, a $38 million signing bonus, which is a record for a receiver. Now, what about his teammates, Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons?
I don't think this has any bearing on that at all. I think Dallas knew it was trying to re-sign CD. I think it was the next deal that they were going to get done. He was next in line, and now that he's done, they can begin to move ahead.
Adam Schefter on Carlin versus Joe. A little obscure baseball history in Boston today. Red Sox catcher Danny Jansen becomes the first player to appear in the same game for both teams. Jansen was hitting for the Blue Jays at Fenway Park 2 months ago when the game was suspended. He was traded to Boston in July, and the teams are finishing that game today. They're scoreless in the 6th inning. Opening day at the U.S. Open in New York. Coverage right now on ESPN and ESPN+.
Here's one stat that's super simple to remember. Discover automatically doubles the cash back on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cashback Match. With Discover, you could turn $150 cash back to $300. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Dylan Cruz headed to the big show, Nats and Yankees, this evening from D.C. D.C. will be making his Major League debut. Fired up for that. I'll be locked into it for sure for his first AB at the very least. And we'll talk a lot of football other than that the rest of the hour. New Orleans finished up their preseason yesterday with a loss to the Tennessee Titans in the Superdome. A lot of the Saints starters did not participate in the game yesterday. Tennessee did send theirs out there for the first couple of drives. Titans took control of the game. Saints battled back, took a lead, but could not quite hold it. A late Tennessee touchdown gives the Titans the win, but nobody really cares who wins preseason games. It's more about what those results and the path to getting there mean for the roster moving forward. Matthew Paris covers the Saints for the Advocate. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Thanks so much for the time, Matthew. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. How was the crowd in the Dome yesterday?
Yeah, it wasn't nearly what it would be for a regular season game, but I thought the energy was still pretty good. I covered some empty preseason games in my day, and that wasn't necessarily one of them. So I thought it was solid, all things considered.
All right, let's talk about the play on the field. I'll just leave it open-ended. Was there anything for you that stood out in those 4 quarters of football in the Dome yesterday?
Yeah, I thought 2 things. One, the quarterback race. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Saints end up doing there, because I think Spencer Rattler has pretty much outplayed Jake Haener throughout the preseason, with the exception of the second game. But I think in practices and stuff, Haener's had a bit of an edge. So how much is Dennis Allen going to actually weigh the game results versus what he's seen in practice? I think that'll be interesting. And then the wide receiver race, there's just a lot of guys there. Equiminius St. Brown, who I don't think is going to make this roster, but had a really solid day. He made a good case to be kept. Other guys like Stanley Morgan kind of stood out here and there. And then A.T. Perry, he had been having some really quiet practices, but had a pretty good preseason overall. And we saw that again yesterday.
Let's talk running backs. Jacob Gbode had a really cool day for him, in Louisiana native, couple of touchdowns in the Superdome, a place that he had never played before. And it feels like there are some carries available, or a roster spot potentially available at running back because we don't know what's going on with Kendre Miller. So how do you handicap that position after Alvin Kamara now that the preseason's in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are carries available, especially, after Jamal Williams and Taysom Hill. I think those guys would still be in the pecking order, but we saw Jordan Mims kind of really rise to the occasion in training camp. Cabaldi is an interesting one just because, he had a slow start to training camp, didn't really do anything of note, but then he's really come on lately, and you saw in the game on Sunday with his 2 touchdowns. So I think he made a case for the practice squad. I don't think he has really kind of any shot at the roster, if I'm being honest. But, just because I think Jordan Mims has been ahead of him the whole time, and I don't think Jordan Mims has done anything to lose that spot if Kendre Miller does go on IR.
What do we think about Kendre Miller at this point? I mean, I guess my guess is probably as good as yours, but what do we think?
Yes, you were right on that. I mean, the Saints, it really boils down to this, I think, for the Saints, is do they really want to give up on a player just 2 years into his career that they used a third-round pick on? I don't think so, as disappointing as he's been. I think he showed enough flash in that last Week 18 game last season that, he's probably worth keeping around, but we've all heard Dennis Allen's comments. He's very frustrated. If you basically read between the lines, and sometimes they're not even, you don't even have to read between the lines, Dennis Allen feels like Kendre Miller hasn't done enough to prevent injuries, that he just hasn't taken care of his body well enough to prevent some of these. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of his roster spot. My guess would be he lands on injured reserve, and they take a look at it 4 weeks down the line, but that's more of a guess, and that's all you can do with Kendre Miller at this point, is you have to guess, because he just really hasn't shown a lot to work with.
Let's talk about other roster spots down there right at the very, very end of the roster. Is there a position specifically that you're looking at outside of the ones that you illustrated earlier?
Yeah, I think linebacker is the one we haven't touched on. That's pretty interesting. Some injuries at that spot all of a sudden. DeMarco Jackson missed Sunday's game with a calf injury. Jalen Ford, the 5th-round rookie, has pretty much been hurt most of camp. He came back from one soft tissue injury and then injured his other hamstring. So I believe he was dealing with a hamstring injury on his other leg before he got hurt again. What do they do there? Do they put him on injured reserve to start the year? Do they just cut bait with the 5th-round pick? I'm not sure, but it really opens the door up, I think, for someone like Khalid Hudson, Anthony Orji. Those guys, I think Orji would make it regardless, but Hudson's the one that I think could really benefit from an injury situation.
Yeah, what do you think Orji's role is? Do you think he can make the active roster? Do you think he can contribute? He's certainly been productive in the preseason.
He has. You do have to keep 7 guys inactive on Sunday, so I just think from a number standpoint, he would probably be inactive, but he's contributed on special teams. He's been wearing the green dot during these games, so, your backup Mike linebacker, if something were to happen to Demario Davis or anything like that, I don't know for sure if he'd see the field, but I thought Davis put it well the other day. He looks completely like a different player from his first year, and I think that's a real testament to his growth.
Let's talk specialists. We'll start with kicker. Blake Grupe had a great camp. He also did that last year and then kind of turned into a pumpkin when the regular season rolled around. Any reason to believe that'll be different this time around?
Well, it could be different if they don't keep him.
Yeah.
I think Charlie Smith, I don't know if Charlie Smith will make this roster. I kind of think he will, and that's just because of the upside, because of his big leg. I thought it was really interesting yesterday that after the game, we were talking to him in the locker room, and his personal trainer from Ireland was there and kind of helped him, get this started, and saw his first kick ever. And he made a point to emphasize that, even though Charlie Smith has a big leg, that's just not all what he's about, that he's improved kind of massively throughout camp, that he's a lot more consistent from inside the 50 now. So it'll be interesting to see if the Saints give him that spot. Smith didn't kick field goals or extra points in any of the last 2 preseason games. I wonder if they're hiding him a little bit, but they did say that he's dealing with groin tightness. So I don't know. I mean, I think if Blake Grupe wins this job, it'll be because he earned it. But I just think Smith's upside is kind of too much to pass up personally.
How would you grade or rate Lou Hedley's camp?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a punting expert by any means, but the ball comes out pretty ugly at certain points. I don't think Matthew Hayball had really much of a stellar camp either. So, but if I was assigning a grade letter, I mean, geez, I don't know, like a D, C plus, C, somewhere in there. Like he just had an opportunity to seize the job and then didn't. And he's just had some kind of real ugly kicks here and there. So, I don't know what the Saints will do there. I'm interested to see if they even explore the waiver wire here. Just that's kind of maybe the position they're at. But at the same time, Lou Hedley is still pretty young. Matthew Hayball is a decorated college kicker, like punter. So maybe they just roll with what they have. But I wouldn't blame them for looking elsewhere either.
You sound very similar to those of us covering the LSU beat who go out to practice and we're all kind of like, we're not experts on punting, but this just doesn't look all that great. So we'll see when the lights come on for the LSU this Sunday and for the Saints the following Sunday. All right, camp is in the rearview mirror. It's all systems go toward Carolina now. How do you feel about the Saints team overall? That's very open-ended, but I kind of mean it that way. Like, what's your read?
Yeah, I think the strengths of this team are what they have been. I think the defense is still going to be very good again. I think the pass rush is going to be better than it was last year. The secondary is still overall the strength of the team. The offense, I'm interested to see how it comes together. I think this team change will be effective for them, but if you told me that this is still a below average offense, that they rank around 18th in scoring or 18th in yards, somewhere in there, like, I would believe you, just because I think it's going to be a little bit rougher of a transition than maybe some people expect. That I think has a large part to do with the offensive line and all the holes on there.
I do. We'll see. There's a lot of questions, and I guess we'll just start to get answers coming up in 2 weeks when they play Carolina. Matthew Paris covers the team for the Advocate Times-Picayune, and you can find him on Twitter. Find all his stuff there at the Advocate on the site. Matthew, thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. It's just we're all kind of in the same boat talking about the Saints. Like, I don't think they're going to be great. It could be okay. Like, it's just I'm ready for them to start playing games. I've had enough breaking down practice. I've certainly had enough preseason football. I'm ready for them to get into it. But unfortunately, we got to wait 2 weeks for that. So it's going to be more this week will be heavier on LSU for certain, because we're now really getting into the teeth of it with the Tigers, and the Saints are still kind of a week off. Last week, if you'll recall, I said this is a tough week mentally. Like, it's just a tough week to get through, because like the light of the tunnel is like it's there, but you're still not quite inching up to it. Now we can see it. And with the Saints, you're kind of in the situation we were in last week, where it's still not quite there. There'll be some news this week. They'll certainly have roster cut downs. We'll understand where the Saints roster is, who they prioritize, and then what they may be able to do in signing some guys that have been cut elsewhere. And that'll be interesting to an extent, but I'm ready to get them out on the field and playing some football games, and we'll get there. We'll get there sooner or later. Our Monday shows are brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Dylan Cruz making it up to the big leagues, and then get back into some LSU as they get ready for the opener as well. We're 15 minutes away from Denton Day talking some National College football. Don't go anywhere. It is The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. People's Choice Award, Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. If you're unfamiliar with the Parade of Homes, builders do an awesome job of building some homes, furnishing some homes, and you can go through and check those out to showcase their abilities. And as part of that, they allow some vendors to come in and show their capabilities as well. And Audio Video Security Solutions was selected to do that, and they blew everyone away, as you would expect, because Audio Video Security Solutions does an incredible job. Whether it's the audio in your home, the surround sound, the entertainment system, video situations, whether it's your home entertainment system or mounting televisions, that type of deal. And they also do security as well. I saw earlier this weekend on their Instagram feed at AVSS_BR, they had a little deal where it was voice automated, and you can say, hey, we want to watch a movie, and all of a sudden the blinds get lowered and the television comes on and the lights dim, and it sets you up to sit down and watch a movie. They can do things that are quote unquote as fancy as that, and they can do things that are as simple as installing your home security system. They got a lot of capabilities over at Audio Video Security Solutions. I would highly suggest you checking them out on Instagram at AVSS_BR. The website, I tell you every single day, AVSSLA.com. But also, Mitchell Fisher's phone number. He's the owner of the company, and you can find him at 225-439-7920. That's 439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Chatting some college football with Denton Day coming up in 12 minutes, but I did want to spend a little bit of time briefly on Dylan Cruz's big night tonight. If you're looking for a cool video, head over to LouisianaSports.net and our latest stories. Clipped a tweet from the Nationals organization of Dylan calling his mom back on Friday to tell her that she needed to pack some bags and come on up to D.C. to watch him play against the Yankees. It was a very, very cool moment. She said she was going to win Dixie, and then she started crying, and it was a really cool moment. So the video's up at LouisianaSports.net in the story if you want to check that out. It'll be the Nationals and the Yankees coming up today at 5:45 our time. If you're thinking, how can I watch that for free? Well, I don't know if MLB Network's going to come in with it or not. It doesn't say that on the website. But I can tell you that Pluckers will have it if you really want to watch Dylan Cruz's first at bat and want to go get some delicious food. You can do that at Pluckers. They've got the MLB Network package, MLB TV package, and you can turn on Nationals Yanks if you would like. All right, Beck, here's the game. I could give you Alex Bregman's career in totality, all the way through, not stopping today, all the way through.
Okay.
Or Dylan Cruz's MLB career, and you can interpret this however you want, but which one will be better when it's all said and done?
Wow, that's an interesting proposition you have there.
Yeah. You got 9 years of data on Bregman. You got none years of data on Cruz.
Man. I think for me, so I think we're both in agreement that Cruz is probably a more talented prospect than Alex Bregman, maybe?
To me, yes.
I think it's pretty close, though.
It is close. Bregman was fantastic. They were both the second pick in the draft.
Yeah. I'll take Cruz because I think, well, here's the problem, though. The Nationals stink. So he's not going to have much help around him, at least right now.
Did you see the Astros as Bregman was coming up?
They weren't great, but it didn't take long. It didn't take long.
When he got there, they were there.
Yeah.
But there was a Twitter account at the time called "Did the Astros Lose?"
Yeah.
And it was because they lost every game. They were the worst team in the league by a long shot. Now that was as they were building up, and they took Correa first, and then they ended up with Bregman and all that kind of stuff. We know how that went, but yes, the Nationals are not great.
Yeah.
But you can have a really good career with a bad team. Mike Trout's going to be one of the top 10 hitters ever.
But I'll take Cruz. I just think Alex Bregman's had a really, really, really good career, but I think you just have to go for the more potential there with Cruz because Cruz, I think, has probably more potential, I think, to have.
The good news is they're up at the same time.
Yeah.
Bregman was 22 when he got up in 16, and Cruz is either 21 or 22. I know he just got drafted. He's probably 22 because he just got drafted last year. So they're up at the same time. And Bregman's career, I knew he'd had a good run, but he's had a really, really, really good career. And I realize for people that don't pay close attention to Major League Baseball, this will not sound great. But I promise you, if you're not paying attention, Major League Baseball statistics are now way skewed from what they were 15, 20 years ago. No one hits 318 anymore. You just the starters throw 100, the relievers throw 100. Everybody's throwing sliders at ridiculous rates. Nobody throws 2-0 fastballs anymore. It's just brutally hard to hit. So when I tell you that Alex Bregman for his career has hit 273, that's very, very good. That's exceptional. No, it's not, Trout, but it's very, very good. Some of his career highlights to this point, he was a two-time All-Star. He was an All-Star in 18 and 19. He was a Silver Slugger winner in 2019. He led the league in walks that year. He led the league in doubles a different year. Probably his best year as a pro was 2019 when he hit 41 home runs and had 112 driven in. Now, maybe some issues with what the Astros were doing at that point. I can hear that discussion all day long. I don't know when the trash can stuff started and when it stopped. I could go back and look that up, but now's not the time or place for that. In any event, Bregman has continued to be a really, really productive hitter at this point in his career. He drove in 93 3 years ago. He drove in 98 last year. He's driven in 61 this year. He, to his name, has 186 career home runs. He's got seasons of 31, 41, 25. That's all really, really good stuff. And the way that I'm wired is to take what's for sure. And I already know, because Bregman's going to play 3, 4, 5 more years, that I'm going to have a really, really solid career. It's going to take a lot for Cruz to overcome it. That's my nature, would be to take that. But I watched too much Cruz here for 3 years. He's the best player I have ever seen put on that uniform. He was that way for 3 years, and he's hit like crazy everywhere he's been in the minors. And he may go through some bumps. Remember, Bregman really struggled right when he got up. I mean, I think it was 1 for 30-something. I could look that up too, but it was really bad to start. And that can happen to a young player in the big leagues, but Cruz is going to figure it out pretty quickly, and he's going to be a star, I think. He's going to play great defense in center field. He's going to steal bases. He's going to hit for power. He's going to hit for some average. He's going to draw a lot of walks. And I would take Cruz here. I don't feel 100% conviction behind it because Bregman's track record is so small, but the talent level, I just can't ignore it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see.
Do you think my tweet is gonna be proven true? You think he's gonna hit 300 home runs?
No, I don't think I'll go that far. I mean, that would be How many? I don't think so.
Let's see how many home runs Anthony Rizzo has. That's a pretty potent career that you're familiar with. Anthony Rizzo, to this point, he's played 13 years in the big leagues. He has got 303 home runs. What a great pull by
Wow.
him. So that's what you're looking at. You got to hit 30 a year for a long time.
Yeah, he obviously can do that. That's tough to. I'll say no right now.
And Rizzo got up basically at 21.
Yeah, a little extra time, but
another year. But he only hit one home run that year.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. So yeah, I mean that's. I don't feel as good about it now. Rizzo's hit a lot of homers. Rizzo was really good for a long time, and he's still playing at 34 years old. But he's really ticked off there. He only hit 8. He's hit 8 this year and 12 last year. So we'll see. Dylan Cruz makes his debut tonight with the Washington Nationals against Nestor Cortez and the New York Yankees. 4 LSU baseball players got recognized for their achievements over the summer. That story is currently up at LouisianaSports.net. I briefly wanted to get to that and then go into Denton Day here to talk some more football. But Ashton Larson was the Summer Player of the Year by LSU. Chandler Dorsey, the closer from South Florida who's come in, won Pitcher of the Year. Tanner Reeves won the Summer Weight Room winner. I hope Tanner Reeves, who hits from the left side, can show some power in the fall when we get out there. And then Dalton Beck is the Summer Academic Champion. So shout out Dalton Beck, who was the Southland Conference Player of the Year last year. Jacob Beck, who did nothing academically to get this award, is nodding his head back there, just taking some stolen valor there. You gonna get a Beck jersey this year for Dalton Beck?
Yeah, and probably a Carson Beck jersey as well. For
the Georgia
Bulldogs.
one.
Yeah.
But what about a Rod Beck jersey from the Cubs?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good too, I think.
Are there any other Becks? Chip Beck, U.S. Ryder Cup,
pretty good, caddy golfer. Yeah, shot 59.
I got you beat there. I got Arnold on that one.
Yeah, that's not going to be
tough for you to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Got Jim as a pitcher for the Orioles, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
How about this bad parenting by my dad before we get to Denton Day? This is some of the worst parenting I've ever heard of. I'm not doing this, by the way. My dad, I think I've talked about this on the air. My dad at some point in time allowed me to have an Alabama David Palmer jersey.
Yeah, I remember you talked about this
about that on the air. I mean, I was just thinking about the last name. Like, I obviously saw David Palmer on TV for Alabama. I was like, I want that jersey. No, give me a Dean Palmer Rangers jersey or something. There's no Bama jerseys in the house. If there's somebody that plays quarterback for Bama named Myers or Palmer and my kid wants a jersey, the answer is no. You don't get the jersey.
No.
And you wipe your mouth out with soap and you go sit in your room for another 2 days. Maybe we'll give you some food. There will be no Bama jerseys in the Palmer household. Very poor parenting by Rusty and Helen purchasing that jersey. Very, very poor.
That's tough. That's a tough look, man. And you're going to have to wear that, for the rest of your life.
I know. I don't have to wear it ever.
Well, I just mean you're going to have to wear the knowledge.
The fact that I had one?
You had one, yeah.
It gives me night terrors to this point. All right, let's talk to Denton Day about some college football coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBare's Baton Rouge Casino this summer and this week, by the way. I'll tell you a little more about that coming up. For exciting live sports action, LeBare's has the biggest screens around, plus ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Penn Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Penn Cash every single week. Visit PennPlaySports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeBare's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. You can bring your crew for all the action coming up this Thursday. 7 o'clock, college football on the air. I will be at the LeBare's Sportsbook over there hanging out, drinking some cold drinks, watching sports on their huge TV. We're having a big celebration, so come on out on Thursday of this week to LeBare's Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Back in action here, Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. I feel like it probably is, because we have made it to college football season. LSU and SC 6 days away out in the desert. We had week 0 in the rearview mirror and a big slate of, well, not a big slate, but good enough slate of week 1 action coming up here this weekend to talk about all of it. Denton Day, host of College Football Overtime on Sirius XM, producer at 106.7 The Fan up in the nation's capital. Denton, thanks so much for your time. How are you?
Hunt, what's up, man? I mean, we got games.
We got lots of games.
I got to sit on my couch and watch football this weekend, and all of them were good. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
How was Saban on game day?
What's that?
How was Saban on game day?
I thought he was great. It was really weird. I'm a big pro wrestling guy. So seeing Nick Saban sit like 2 seats over from WWE superstar Sheamus and have them both picking games together, and like that took a little bit to get used to. But it's one of the great things about college football, because you can have this pale white Irish wrestler and the greatest coach of all time loving the same thing.
Well, let's talk about the results in that game over in Ireland. How shocked were you?
I was shocked. I wasn't shocked that Georgia Tech kept it close. I didn't think they were going to win. I had them covering. I got them at 11.5. I had them covering that spread. I was stunned at, well, 2 things. One, damn, DJU is not good.
No.
Maybe I shouldn't have been stunned at that, because we kind of already knew that. But I was stunned at the way that Georgia Tech's offensive line seemingly dismantled a team in Florida State that we thought was going to be a really good defensive line. Maybe they still are a really good defensive line. With one game, I feel like it's unfair to properly judge. But the way that Georgia Tech was able to, on that first drive in particular, I mean, their ball carriers were 7 yards down the field before someone was even in their zip code. It was incredibly impressive. And, I knew that Georgia Tech was going to get better this year and kind of rise up in the tiers, if you will, from the ACC, but I didn't have that one on the bingo card this weekend.
So do you feel differently about Florida State at this point?
Yeah, they don't have a quarterback. Yeah, the DJU, that final drive was great, but if you want to be really good in a Power 4 league, and when I say really good, we know they have college football playoff aspirations. It was kind of weird almost how after that game, none of the focus was on Georgia Tech. All of the focus was on, well, how can they still get to the college football playoff? Well, here's the answer. Your quarterback has to throw down the field. If you can't throw against Georgia Tech, what are you going to do against some of these other teams that have better offenses? So they got to do something at the quarterback, and they haven't set themselves up for success. You look at that depth chart, it's a redshirt freshman and a true freshman behind DJU. That's not smart game planning. That's not smart roster building by Mike Norvell. They're going to be in a little bit of trouble unless DJU kind of finds himself.
Yeah, I mean, he's just never been a great player anywhere he's been. He's fine. Like, he's not just a disaster, but he's just not. He's not the 5-star heir to the Clemson throne that we thought he was 4 years ago. So, issues there for Mike Norvell in Tallahassee. All right, let's go to week 1. I'm fascinated by a few games here. The headliners are obvious, but I'm sneaky, kind of looking forward to Florida and Miami. What gives you? What do you think about that one?
I'm excited about that one. On paper, it's two teams going in different directions, right? Like, it feels like Miami is ascending back to what they might have been in the late 90s, early 2000s, whereas Florida is on a decline that I would have never anticipated. When Billy Napier took that job, I was like, that's a great hire. That was that crazy year. Lincoln Riley's getting hired. Brian Kelly's getting hired. And I'm looking at Billy Napier to Florida. I'm like, this one sneakily might be the best. And gosh, dang it, was I wrong on that one. But I still have like this weird hint of optimism of what if Florida wins, right? Like that's maybe the one game where I look at and say they could cause a little bit of chaos amongst those of us in the media if they beat Miami, and then all of a sudden there's a boatload of pressure on Mario Cristobal.
There's no doubt. I mean, this is a huge game for both of them. Billy Napier's trying to get to what, 7 to save his job, 8 to save his job, and how many wins does he need? And Cristobal, they need to ascend pretty rapidly. The recruiting is the money could dry up if they don't have belief that he can coach them.
The money could dry up also because some of the guys who have the money don't exactly do it the greatest way according to the U.S. government. They need to get to the ACC championship. Like, Miami needs to get to the championship. Florida needs, I think 7 is a good number. 7 is a good number with a young quarterback, not Graham Mertz, but the 5-star quarterback playing at the end of the year looking good. That might save Napier's job. Obviously, the more the better. But I don't think they're getting to 7, man. Like, that schedule is just too rough. There's too many games on there that they would really have to pull one out of the hat to win. I just don't see that happen.
So on Twitter today, not that I'm doing a ton of Notre Dame football scouting. Tigers don't play the Irish this year, but they're starting two freshmen on the offensive line going down to Kyle Field. That doesn't sound like a great plan to me. What do you think about the Aggies' chances of beating Notre Dame this weekend?
This is probably the most fascinating game for me this weekend, Hunt, purely because you got Riley Leonard, who, as you mentioned, is going to be protected by 2 true freshmen, going against his former coach, who knows him very well, and that Texas A&M team, who has a boatload of talent. That seems like A&M's going to win that one. That seems like A&M's going to win it. It's in College Station. We know what that environment's like. It's cult-like, right? But we know what that environment's like. That feels like I haven't put any bets on it yet, but I think I might be riding Texas A&M on the money line this weekend.
What's the number on that game? Do you know, or what's close to? I haven't even looked.
I think it was hovering around 2.5, 3.5. So it was close, but it was in favor, I think, of Notre Dame. Maybe it switched. I meant to look at it this morning, and I never got around to it. But it's a short number for sure.
I think A&M's going to win that game. That's my feel on Monday, but we'll see how things shake out. Do you Clemson any shot against Georgia?
No. I mean, I said the same thing about Georgia Tech, so maybe I'll be wrong. But let's be honest. You going to trust Cade Klubnik against that Georgia defense? No. Like, they'll play better quarterbacks at some point where they'll get tested. God love Cade Klubnik. God love Dabo Swinney. He needs to kind of adjust, if you will. Get to the portal. Get some guys that can sling the ball around like that. I don't give that line is 13.5. I like Georgia on that one. I don't think Clemson has a shot.
It's crazy the rise that Georgia's been on, and people just aren't believing in Clemson anymore. Do you think Dabo's got any more life in him to put a championship level team on the field, or do you think that day's come and gone?
He does if he uses the transfer portal and NIL.
Well,
if he doesn't want to do that, I mean, that's like trying to win a race on a bike while running. It's just you don't have the facilities, big man.
No, I agree. It's puzzling that he doesn't want to do that, but I don't know. Maybe losing will kick that into gear. Maybe it won't, and he'll just be stubborn the whole way, and then finally be run out of town if that's the case. Because if you don't pay your players and you don't go get new players, you're not going to win. You're not going to win a lot of football games, or at least the ones that Clemson's supposed to win. So, all right, LSU and SC Sunday night out in the desert. What's your read?
I'm on LSU. I'm big time off USC this year. I know they named Miller Moss quarterback, and I know Lincoln Riley has this whisper-like ability with quarterbacks to take them from sometimes relative unknowns, although we did have a couple really good ones at the end of Oklahoma and USC. But I don't think that defense is ready yet. I think Brian Kelly's going to come out, seeing how the last 2 years have gone on these Sunday night games. I think LSU's going to come out with their rear end on fire and get it done.
Do you trust LSU's defense to stop Lincoln Riley?
I don't trust any defense in that game. I think I trust LSU just a hair more because at the very least I trust they've tackled this offseason, where I'm not 100% certain that USC has. Unless his new defensive coordinator came in with an iron fist, we know that Lincoln Riley doesn't like his dudes getting tackled, so they don't tackle, and that always bites him in the rear end.
I'm just curious. I just think, nobody's had a better track record in developing quarterbacks in the last 7-8 years than what Lincoln Riley's done. It's been phenomenal. Do we just assume that Miller Moss is the next guy that's going to throw for a bajillion? Is that just the way it's always going to be, or is the talent level maybe not what the other three guys have been?
The talent level is definitely not what the other guys have been, but I do think Lincoln Riley, for whatever I feel about him personally, which is not a lot, but I do think he's really good at making life easy for young quarterbacks. And we saw what he was able to do in that bowl game last year. Not to think that every game is going to look like that, like he is going to have his ups and downs for sure. But I do think Lincoln Riley will do his best to make his life easier and make it almost impossible for him to fail.
We kind of went over the high points on the schedule. Is there another game, another team, another line, another storyline that piques your interest this week, whether it's Michigan moving on post-Harbaugh or Ohio State with a new quarterback? What's interesting to you on this week outside of those big games?
Oh, I don't know how big you consider this game, but I'm so looking forward to Penn State WVU. I think Morgantown's going to be on fire, and James Franklin better win that one. If they lose that game, I've never seen a Penn State fan base mad. If they lose that game, dear God, pray for that man, because it's going to be a whole lot of trouble. I will say Michigan's storyline is going to be a lot more interesting in the next 24 hours when the Connor Stallion doc comes out on Netflix, and then they decide who their quarterback's going to be. The fact they haven't named one yet is a little surprising. I thought it was going to be Orgy for sure, and they're seemingly a little hesitant at the moment. Maybe that's just gamesmanship, but do you really need gamesmanship week one when you're Michigan? It's not like you're playing Texas this week. Come on.
Are you close enough to Penn State to get vibes on how they're feeling about their football program right now? Because they're always pretty good. They're just never great. And it's better to be pretty good than pathetic, but it's frustrating, and they haven't climbed the mountain. In my sense would be, well, if we just do what we've been doing, we'll be in the playoff. But they've got to keep doing that, and I don't know if they think they're good enough once they get to the playoff to get anything done.
The feel right now seems like if they keep doing what they're doing, they will get into the playoff. But if they miss the playoff this year, then we're going to get to see a whole different element of it. You can kind of get by being pretty good, not pathetic, when it's only 4 teams. But if you're on the outskirts of this 12-team playoff, you're paying too much money to James Franklin. And at a certain point, I know what they're afraid of becoming Florida, essentially, because Florida was so high. Penn State hasn't reached those heights in a long time, but Florida was so high, and we've seen them now tumble and tumble and tumble. They're afraid of becoming that, but at a certain point, you do have to look around and say, to borrow their phrase, we are Penn State. Surely someone can come in here and do a good job if James Franklin isn't cutting it the way we need him to.
Denton, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the football this weekend, man. We'll talk next week.
I appreciate it as always, man. Do well.
Denton Day at the Denton Day on Twitter, host of college football overtime on Sirius XM, and also a producer there and a host on 106.7 The Fan up in the capital city. Interesting, just to kind of put a button on that Penn State thing. You could get rid of James Franklin and hit a home run. You could do the Mark Richt is out at Georgia, here's Kirby Smart. You could do that. But you can also fire Phil Fulmer at Tennessee and then never pick it up for 15 years. And you can be that. That's the risk you run. James Franklin's always pretty good. And maybe he gets that next quarterback or finds that the stars line up and you become an elite team and you climb the mountain and you can win a championship. But do you want to play that game? Do you want to maybe hire Derek Dooley and Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt, or maybe hire Kirby Smart? You've got the Mark Richt. You've got that. You got a good team every year, but you're just not quite getting it done. Do you want to play that game? Do you want to play the Russian roulette? Tough Tough to answer. We'll see. Penn State coming up against West Virginia this weekend. All right, when we come back, we'll close things out. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jonathan Carver and his team at Highland Insurance Group right here in Baton Rouge want to be your trusted insurance consultant and advisor. Your insurance agent should be part of your team. If you're one of these that just wants to shop and shop and shop and shop and try to find that lowest rate, this is probably not the call for you to make. I promise you, Highland Insurance Group will work for you to make sure that you are paying the appropriate price. But they're also going to make sure that you've got the appropriate coverage. The worst time to try to look around through your insurance docs is after you've had that cyber breach, after you've had that car accident, after there's been a bad hurricane. And then, well, what do I have? What is my coverage? Well, if you've got the Highland Insurance Group on your team, you'll already know. They'll make sure that you're taken care of in the worst time. That's what insurance is for. Jonathan Carbo and his team, EPL, crime, cyber, D&O, umbrella. If you don't know what any of that is and you're a business owner, you probably should. Give them a call or check them out online. HighlandIG.com is the website. They can handle your employee and group benefits. They can handle your property and casualty. If you're a business owner here in South Louisiana, highly suggest checking out the Highland Insurance Group. It's HighlandIG.com. The Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Alrighty then, wrapping things up here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Gulf Coast Office Products brings you our Monday episodes each and every day. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal, printing, scanning, copying your equipment in the office. Gulf Coast Office Products got you covered there. We got fantastic capabilities, tons of inventory here in Baton Rouge. They can service you statewide. fantastic customer relations, great people at Gulf Coast Office Products. If you haven't given much thought to your office equipment and your printing, scanning, copying equipment, Gulf Coast Office Products can help you with that, no matter what vertical industry you are in. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. A woman in Zachary harvested a 111-pound watermelon. She hopes to share it with her granddaughter's school. Take it or leave it.
And I'm going to take it. I love watermelon. Fantastic stuff. A little disappointing when you get a little bit too many seeds there. That's really the only deal. And I feel like if you've got a 111-pounder, you might be dealing with a significant seed situation.
Probably.
But I'm pro 111-pound watermelon. Crack that thing open, go to work.
That's pretty incredible work there. Next one here. Dabo Sweeney will no longer be taking fan phone calls on his weekly coaches show. I wonder what happened. Take it or leave it.
It was bad stuff last year. Look, I'm going to take it. Y'all know my thoughts on coaches shows at this point. I work for the LSU Sports Radio Network. I understand the appeal of the coaches radio show where fans can interact with the coach and create a great environment. But it gets toxic, and it drives me a little bit nuts when it gets toxic, when fans feel like after 6 Millers, they can dial up the coach on the coach's show and ream them out for losing a game to Mississippi State. That's not my favorite setting. So I'm fine with them discontinuing the live phone calls. You want to take some tweets, you want to plant some calls, I'm all for it. Let Dabo sign some autographs at the restaurant and get on back to the coach's office. I don't need fans talking to coaches on the phone live on the air. That's just a bad recipe.
It is a bad recipe, but it's also very funny.
It can be funny. It can be funny, but it's still usually
not great. Next one here. Western Kentucky named its starting quarterback today.
Okay.
Former LSU, Auburn, Texas State. I think you know where this is going. Quarterback TJ Finley has won the job.
Oh, man.
Lindsey Scott and TJ Finley are going to play for every team in the college football. Take it or leave it.
That's a lot of teams. I mean, Lindsey Scott went to LSU. He was at Missouri for a hot minute. I know he went at Incarnate Word as well. I think he played for East Mississippi Junior College, the same place.
He played at Nichols as well.
And Nichols, too. So that's like 5 or 6. I mean, they've knocked out at least nine gigs in high school, in college quarterback. And good for them. They're going to let you play for a long time. Go play. I'm all for it. TJ Finley's a Hilltopper now. Good for you.
Last one here. A&M linebacker, Texas A&M linebacker Torian York says the Aggies have watched a lot of LSU film to get ready for Mike Denbrock's Notre Dame offense. Take it or leave it.
They're going to be pleasantly surprised when Riley Leonard starts running and it's not Jaden Daniels.
A little bit different.
It looked a little better on film. That's like the swinging the weighted bat. So you can really pick
the
up
weights
the bat
on, you swing like 3 bats.
You're watching Jaden Daniels run that offense, and now Riley Leonard's out there trying to run it. Look, that's what you got to do. You got to go out there and do that. I'm sure LSU's watching a ton of UCLA defensive film. I'm sure that USC is watching a bunch of Mizzou film, but little bit of a different dynamic there. I don't think I don't know who Notre Dame's wide receivers are, but I doubt that they're both going in the first round.
Probably not.
I doubt one of them
chances aren't high.
Touchdown catches, and the other one's going 6th in the draft. So watch the film all you want, but it's probably going to look a little bit different. I know Matt has been on this kick, and he'll continue it this week, saying that LSU fans have to pull for A&M in that game to try to knock Notre Dame out of a playoff spot. Here's what I know. I know that A&M and LSU recruit the same players a lot, and LSU plays A&M a lot, and I don't need them to get good. What I don't know is if LSU and Notre Dame are going to be in a playoff battle in 3 months, and I can't know that on Saturday. Therefore, I will be pulling for Notre Dame. That's what I will do. If it is proven that was a stupid thing to do, I will come on this radio show, and it'll be recorded, and I'll say, I'm an idiot, and that was dumb. But currently, I'm going with the information that I have that I know, and what I know is I don't want A&M to get good, and I want Mike Elko to be a miserable failure there.
Understandable.
So I hope that starts on Saturday with a loss to Notre Dame. However, like me and Denton were just talking about in the previous segment, I think A&M's going to win that game. I got to look at it. I got to see. All I know about Notre Dame is Riley Leonard. That's it. And I know a little bit about A&M, but I got to look a little bit more deeply into it, and I will. And I'll have more picks coming up later on in the week. But early on, feel for the game, I'm thinking I got to go with A&M in that one. So we'll see. Excuse me.
There it is. Yeah.
I've been fighting that for 20 minutes. There's just something going on in my throat. I got water here, but it's not. not working. I've only got a minute and a half left to go here, so I think I can make it through. But we're going to get into a little bit of a routine now with football season. Denton's going to come on every Monday in that spot. Glenn West and Sharif Ishak on Tuesdays. Wednesdays we'll have J.D. Piquel. We'll also do our power rankings on Wednesday. We'll do What If Wednesdays. On Thursdays, we'll usually try to get an opposing media guest. I got Mark Culkin for USC that's going to come on and join us. Fridays, we're going to do some picks for the SEC and get you our pick at the end of the show. So, like, everything that we have been doing for the last couple of years as far as football season content, we'll continue that rolling. Tomorrow, we'll have sound from Brian Kelly that we don't have time to cut up on Mondays because we're on right after they're over. So it's exciting. I'm fired up. I know a lot of you are as well. The bummer about this time of year is that everybody's in school and traffic stinks coming to work. But the good thing is that we got some football coming up in earnest this week, and we'll be getting you ready for LSU and USC. I think I did a pretty good job today of not opening up the USC vault. We haven't gotten there yet. We got 8 hours left to go.
A lot of time.
Probably start picking at that a little bit tomorrow. It's time to start getting into the Trojans as well. So very much excited for that. If you missed any of today's show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. I opened the show talking about LSU in-season openers. I got a piece up on LouisianaSports.net right now with some quotes from Brian Kelly about getting ready for season openers. Saints running back discussion, Brian Kelly injury notes. Matt's going to get to some of that a little bit later. Recruiting, Matthew Parras on the Saints, and then Denton Day talking college football. All that you can find on YouTube as well. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR next. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a good Monday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years down in the 985, but now they've got a 225 location right there in Gonzales. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to lose power, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's one of these afternoon storms that we have. Peace of mind of knowing you're not going to lose power. It's a powerful thing. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Every single generator that you get installed at your home from Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. You're never going to hear me talk about VIP deals with Boudreaux's Electrical. Every single client at Boudreaux's Electrical is treated like a VIP. Go online, boudreauxelectrical.com. Check them out. 985-397-1562 is the number. And then 225-393-89 in Gonzales. It's Boudreaux's Electrical, and you can always find them online. It's a brand new website, really functional. It's boudreauxelectrical.com.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.